Protests have been taking place across Europe against austerity measures.
A large group of workers as well as union members protesting right near.
Just believe civilian men in particular have continued to be killed under the Obama administration.
Hi there, we're back. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
It's so good to be back again right here with you on the internet as we exercise our freedom of speech as protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
And to punctuate our speech, we bring you media that is protected under international fair use copyright laws.
You know all that stuff. You've been with us. This is the 2012 year in review while we get rid of all those nonsensical infotainment stories about Twinkies and get down to the meat of what's important. We're exercising journalism by covering mainstream misses, and there have been protests around the world the mainstream media is ignoring.
Oh my God, it's like 2012 has been the year of the protest.
It was the rise of the people, and the fact is CBC, Global, CTV have abjectly ignored 50,000 workers going on strike in the UK. They've ignored workers going on strike in India.
They've ignored people setting themselves on fire.
Okay, in Israel, there was a youth who set himself on fire over high food and rent prices. It had nothing to do with warfare, and that was ignored by the news. Make sure you get on our YouTube channel and look up Protest in the Global Village. But what we've got here is amazing.
Oh, there's just been so much going on.
We're going to jump in.
Protests have been taking place across Europe against austerity measures. In Slovenia, an estimated 30,000 people took to the streets to denounce government cutbacks. The country has been badly hit by the global crisis. Public sector wages have been slashed in an attempt by the administration to avoid asking for a bailout. Conservative Prime Minister Janez Janša said the reforms were necessary. In Prague, some 10,000 people attended a demonstration calling for the resignation of Prime Minister Petr Nečas's centre-right coalition government following changes in the social welfare system. The measures have been met by fierce criticism. Thousands of policemen marched through Madrid to protest against cuts in their salaries and labour conditions. This demonstration in Spain comes just a few days after the country ground to a halt in the second national strike in so many months. The government of Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy is implementing severe austerity measures in an attempt to save €150 billion by 2014.
The protest against austerity continues. Spain with 2 general strikes totally ignored by mass media. Greece surrounding their parliament totally ignored by mass media.
And don't forget, this year in Canada, there was a little protest in Montreal.
How's that Bill 73 working out for you, Sean? How's it working out? We are Radio Free Canada. We're here to bring you the other side of the story that guys in the lemming suits are telling you that we should ignore. We're talking about protests in the global village, and that was just the beginning. That was the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Walmart workers stood up.
My
Walmart slaves stood up, and how dare they?
Oh, no. But
on this day of all days,
On the biggest shopping day of the year, Black Friday, shoppers are having to walk through a bit of a protest. Take a look over here. What you're seeing at this Southern California Walmart is a large group of workers as well as union members protesting right near the nation's largest retailer, Walmart. This is a protest that's happening not just in Southern California, but across the entire country in the states of Texas, Maryland, Georgia, Wisconsin. Workers walking a picket line saying that they are protesting the pay, the hours, the health care, and company retaliation. Now, despite these picket lines, Walmart is saying it is having its best Black Friday ever. We spoke to one employee who says, hey, that's great news for us.
We don't want customers to walk away from Walmart. We want the customers to Walmart because this is how we pay our bills. This is with them, this is how the store stays open. So it's awesome. But what we're trying to do is get a point across. That's all we're trying to do, get a point across. Walmart, help us.
Walmart says about only 50 employees actually didn't show up for work on Black Friday. But the workers who are out here say that that is a flat-out lie. They believe that many, many more employees simply did not show up for work, trying to make the point to the company that they need to get to the table and figure some of these issues out. Kyung Law, CNN, Paramount, California.
And I remember watching the major media on this. They covered a couple of the things, but in no way did they do in-depth coverage.
Oh, no, because, consumerism is America's lifestyle.
Consumerism is the lifestyle. That's their culture.
They're no longer citizens. They're consumers.
Yes. Remember, you're a corporate person whose only value is to a bank.
Yes. How much debt you could incur and pay back.
I am a credit rating. My number is, and that's kind of pathetic because this is one of the reasons why the country is going into the ground.
Can you say outsourcing?
Yes. Okay. If, of course, we are seeing the protests around the world because of monetary systems, because people are being left behind abjectly. 1 in 4 Canadian children goes hungry. 300,000 Canadian homeless. Okay, it's astounding.
It's staggering numbers.
Okay.
And there's no reason for it.
The only reason why is because some accountant says we can't afford this. Who cares? I mean, lawyers? I'm starting to think accountants.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Hey, let's run this clip, and let's keep it going, okay? Because
people are protesting, even America's foreign policy.
A group of Americans have defied warnings over safety to travel to Pakistan and join a march protesting against US drone strikes. It's to start in Islamabad and end in South Waziristan, a tribal region bordering Afghanistan that's seen many attacks. We are marching to Waziristan. It's thought hundreds of drone strikes have killed thousands of people, many of them civilians. The US argues the strikes help win the war against Al-Qaeda. Activists disagree.
This is a culture that very much believes in revenge, and then they seek revenge by trying to kill Americans. So we are just perpetuating a cycle of violence.
The US gives little details of its drone operations. Researchers believe civilian men in particular have continued to be killed under the Obama administration. The Taliban has criticized the march, though. Reports speak of suicide bombings being planned. The march organizer, cricketer-turned-politician Imran Khan, has been threatened.
The protests go on in Pakistan. There was a major protest over there over children being killed by Obama's drones. Of course, Obama didn't get on major media to talk about how many children he's killed.
No, he had to focus on the nut that killed a bunch of kids in Connecticut.
Yes. More of a chance of getting murdered by your doctor giving you the wrong prescription than killed by a gun nut. But, of course, they hyped that one into oblivion while killing children with drone strikes.
Yeah, they didn't talk about how many people are on psychotropic drugs.
Oh, yes.
All these shootings seem to be linked by one thing.
Major media didn't cover the fact that these shootings are all, that's the one thing that defines them all, is that all of these guys were on drugs.
Well, Pfizer and Bayer and Lilly pay a lot of the bills for mainstream media.
Can't talk about them being the fault for it. We are covering the story, and we do want you to do your research. Don't take our word for it. We aren't like major media. We don't take out commercials saying, trust us, because there's no reason for you to do that. You just use your intellect. You got the internet. They don't. Use it.
Well, they do. They just don't know how to use it. They're like politicians. They think it's just a series of tubes.
This one you got from Israel. Do you want to do this?
Yeah, because they're protesting there, too.
Thousands of protesters are gathering for a rally in Tel Aviv right now. They're angry at the ever-growing cost of living. The Israeli government passed a tough package of cuts and tax hikes this week to try and save over $3.5 billion in next year's budget. The protest movement's been on the rise in recent months, galvanised by some desperate people even setting fire to themselves, as we've been reporting. Saturday's social justice demos are expected to be joined by groups calling for a universal army draft too, recruiting ultra-Orthodox Jews to serve in the military. Prime Minister Netanyahu's popularity's massively dropped as well, with over 60% now unhappy with his work. But critics say the government keeps cashing in to support its regional political goals instead of spending at home.
In the middle of the West Bank, on land Palestinians and the international community claim is not theirs, 50 Israeli families live in a small settler outpost, which government money has helped pay for. Fingers are pointing and calculations made. The Supreme Court ruled this outpost in Migron was illegal and has given settlers here until August the 21st to move out. Either way, Israeli taxpayers foot the bill. This is where the settlers will be moved to. The Israeli government spent more than $4 million building the site. That translates into some $80,000 per family. And this is why Israeli taxpayers are saying enough is enough. For a second straight summer, protests simmer around the country's large cities. But wary of last year's vast numbers of protesters, municipal leaders in Tel Aviv have refused permission for tents along its main boulevard. In symbolic defiance, paper tents have sprung up. But for many of these people, the tents are home, and the protest is not temporary. They're in for the long haul. As the social protests continue, more and more people are demanding answers to why their government is pouring money into new settlements at the expense of the poor in existing communities. Paula Sleer, RT, Migron Outpost in the West Bank.
And I would say that's one of the most important stories not being covered by major media, is that the Israeli people are protesting their own policies, their own Zionistic ambitions.
Yeah, but of course it's all about the money because they're paying the bills.
Yeah, okay.
They want to know why the money's being poured into the settlements and not going to the poor.
So when you take a look at Israel, you got to see they pour way more money into the military than they do in their own people. Their own people are starving to get death, but they've got this, we're going to shun Palestine, and of course a mainstream miss with that one, Canada being, just kissing butt to Israel.
Meanwhile, people are living in tents on the streets in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it boggles the mind at how backwards mainstream media is, okay? Come on. They're protesting the same thing in Israel, high rent and high food prices, as they did in Greece, as they did in Egypt, as we are in Canada.
But you have to ask yourself, who owns the mainstream media?
Oh, 5 companies. Actually, it's down to 3 in the States now.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That was great. Let's. The activism occurred around the planet, abjectly ignored by mainstream media. The one story that blew me away, when you brought this into studio, this one killed me.
I know. I mean, this is just
This
wrong.
was direct action by disability activists, briefly shutting down Britain's Department of Work and Pensions. A carefully timed protest coinciding with the London Paralympics, which began on Thursday. Wheelchairs chained, blocking access in and out of the building. A protest at the way people claiming disability payments are treated by the healthcare company Atos, which assesses on behalf of the government whether they are fit for work. Earlier in the week, they gathered outside the company headquarters. Atos was awarded a $600 million contract to carry out the work. These campaigners say it's doing the government's dirty work, taking away benefits from the disabled without regard to their needs. Atos said in a statement, "We do not make decisions on people's benefit entitlement or on welfare policy, but we will continue to make sure that service that we provide is as highly professional and compassionate as it can be." Roger Lewis is a social worker registered blind for the last 7 years. He deals with the fallout from the patients after their Atos assessments.
It's bewildering for people. They are going somewhere they expect to get help and support. And most aren't prepared for it. They don't know what's coming, and they're shocked when they find out it's a guy sitting in an office with his head into a laptop, doesn't look at them. They're asked very standard questions which come directly out of a computer program. There's no scope for the individual in that. It's just, can you stand up, sit down, you can stand, you can sit, you're fit for work.
With its highly controversial record in dealing with the disabled, it's Atos' sponsorship of the Paralympics that really angers these people. You can expect more demonstrations like this during the duration of the Games. Peter Sharp, Al Jazeera in London.
So we're sitting here, we're watching it, and here's a whole bunch of guys in the Paralympics chained together. Could you imagine the bylaw officer and the guy saying, "Hey, you got to go and roust those guys in wheelchairs"?
And the thing is, they were sponsors of the Paralympics.
I know.
So they're promoting disabled people's abilities and yet denying them benefits to get by and survive. Privatization of public services is working out so well in Britain. It's worked out so well in the States, and now they're pushing for it here in Canada as well.
I know. They can't get this privatization. When you hear public-private partnership, you know you're getting baked. We're seeing the end of our health care. We're seeing the end of our pensions. We're seeing the end of everything.
It's a sign of Bohica.
Oh, really?
Bend over. Here it comes again.
Right on. Okay. That's awesome. Okay, so while we sit there and grin and say, yes, I'll have another, we are going to continue as looking at 2012. Coming up, the police state is unfurling. A police state is unfurling in front of our eyes. We're going to be talking about that in GMOs as 2012 continues. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. We'll be right back.